Good morning and welcome back to Mosaic. I'm Rabbi Eric Weiss and honored to be your host. We're in the middle of a wonderful conversation in honor of June as LGBTQ Pride Month. So we want to welcome back Maxine Epstein, who is the Director of Institutional Advancement at the Jewish Community High School of the Bay, and Rabbi Reuben Zellman, who is the Director of Music at Congregation Beth in Berkeley. Welcome back. We were talking about shifts in language and your relative experiences in the Jewish community around LGBTQ issues and landscape. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the institutional changes that you've seen over the years and even in the places in which you work that cover maybe some of the social shifts, some of the theological, liturgical shifts, some of the shifts that people don't typically think of because they're not necessarily overtly political or overtly, something that the news reports on. Rabbi Zellman, what do you reflect on in that way?
Well, I've worked now in synagogues for about 15 years, and it has been an ongoing evolution to figure out how do we not just say, sure, LGBTQ people are welcome to walk in here, but also, when we do walk in, does what's going on in that synagogue speak to our lives? Does it reflect who we are? Does it include what's the things that are most important to us? And that, I think, is where some parts of the Jewish community have done wonderful work and others haven't started that part yet. So, for example, if we are, one of the things that has been very important for LGBTQ communities has been gender equality in talking about God and in prayer. So our Hebrew prayers traditionally talk about God as He all the time. And one of the major questions that is frequently dealt with is, well, who says God is a He? Why should God be a He? What does that even mean? What is gender anyway? So reframing those questions and perhaps putting in a prayer book, a genderless prayer book, for example. Or if we're calling someone to the Torah and their Hebrew name is either son of someone or daughter of someone, which is how we do it, the traditional formula. Well, what if someone says, I don't identify as male or female? I don't want to be son of or daughter of anybody. We need to come up with new ways of making Hebrew names, for example. And so those are the kinds of things that we have been engaged in. Really fascinating, wonderful, sometimes very challenging work.
And we should say, just as a matter of explanation, that in Jewish tradition, when someone is called to the Torah to have the honor of having a Bible portion of the week read in their honor, that in that liturgical sequence that somebody is named by their Hebrew name and the formula is so-and-so, the son or the daughter of, and then naming one's parent or parents. And so interesting that on that simple liturgical experience that we have this very deep conversation that impinges on how we in fact relate to God.
It's only one example, but it is something that I think before about 10 or 15 years ago, none of us had ever thought of before as a problem. And now we realize that it has limitations that we need to address.
And Maxine, from your experience, even things that people think were not even particularly an issue but need to be highlighted.
Well, working at a high school teenagers, it's the age of isms. So from 9th to 12th grade, here are teenagers grappling with who they are, their identity. And why I love working at this high school and why I have a daughter at this high school is because it is not only a rigorous academic place to study, but it educates the whole person. It helps every single student become the best of who they are and who they will become. And it's small because the faculty can give this to every student. So we have a number of students who have come out recently in a very loving and supportive environment. That never would have happened when I was in high school. No. It has transgender students, and the logo on the bathroom, even to that point of, whoa, we never thought of that, is all gender logo. It is a pluralistic place to be. I wish it was here when I was a teenager, from not just religious observance, but for just being who you are naturally and accepting that. And more than just tolerant of it, understanding it.
It seems part of the subtext of what you're saying, especially in a faith-based framework, is that within a Jewish context, what we're really moving toward is not saying that we welcome you in. It's really saying God approves of you. You reflect God as you are, just as much as any other person. And just the fact that we don't necessarily have the language attached to it doesn't mean that you're any less legitimate. That, in fact, maybe something as simple as gender identity restrooms really represents God's evolving creativity as it becomes known to us. That it's something that always has existed, but we're discovering it in that context.
And it's making all of us walk the walk. Whether you're a teen who doesn't believe in God whatsoever, there's still a place for you at this high school. It's pluralistic. And yes, God loves all of us.
Yes, absolutely. Rabbi Zelman, we're going to say goodbye to and welcome another guest, so thank you so much for being with us. And Maxine Epstein is going to remain with us for the duration of this show. Please join us in just a moment when we continue this conversation here on Mosaic.